Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Madison Board of Selectmen to order on Monday, September 9th, 2019 at 6:30 PM. Please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show all selectmen are present. All right, consent agenda, Mr. Town Manager.
Okay,
Here we go.
take a deep breath here.
Okay.
Due to some issues with our Trio software, which handles all of the finances, some of you are aware of this because some of you have talked with Kathy Estes. Kathy has recommended that we add an additional layer of approval because we cannot print out all of the documents that we need for the warrants. It's causing a lot of trouble and stress and frustration. So last week, a majority of you came in and signed the warrant so we could finally release the checks from August 26th. So those checks went out on Friday, so the people that were waiting for payment of services received those last week. So in order that we don't have a waiting period this week, there's essentially a double signature in these warrants. So what
And we have no idea when this is gonna be fixed. So there's no like, it'll be fixed by Thursday.
Tammy can give you a little update.
Oh, we're updated on that now?
Oh, yes, they call always after we close. So, after I sent out my email. But they will be calling tomorrow at 8:30, 9 o'clock. They have a fix for my August 12th. So this has been going on since July. So they fixed July, and it caused a repercussion to affect my August 12th billing, then it affected the August 26th, and now it's affecting September 9th. So it keeps going. They're calling in the morning to do an update to fix it. We will have to stop services anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes to an hour. I have no idea how long it's going to take for the fix. So we can still have people come in and we can try to help them, but we can't do any payments or look up things with the software.
When you say fix this,
The computer.
is this gonna be another temporary till next month? They're gonna
Well,
fix it temporarily till next month?
I hope not, and I have expressed that concern to the manager and to the software coordinator, plus the IT.
How about Anson, are they having this problem?
I asked that question too, if we were the only town, if we were lucky, or not.
We're
Say
not
that
the
again?
only town?
I don't know if we're the only town, they haven't answered me for a couple weeks now on that, so.
So what?
We haven't asked Hanson, we've asked Trio for the only town.
The software company, not
Software
other
company.
towns, there's many,
Right.
many different towns, and we did have an update that came in, end of July, and then in August, we have our firewall be updated too, so it's a coinciding of firewall and the update, maybe not corresponding, I don't know the real behind it, I'm hoping we'll have a better answer tomorrow.
But we've had this program for quite a while. Have we ever experienced anything like this prior to this?
No, this is, we've had this since 2001, this program. We've never had an issue like this. They are upgrading as we speak to keep up with the upgrowing technology that we encounter every day.
I know I talked with Kathy on the phone when she talked to me about coming in and you know, it's like I told her, you know, we need to get payment out to those that we need to get payment out to. The only concern that I would have, and this is what I told her, says, Kathy, as long as we've got a paper trail, I don't have a problem with that. You know, but, you know, and we do, from the way she explained it to us, you know, until the town can get back on its feet with this program. I guess we just gotta do what we gotta do.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we're not jeopardizing any one of these people that are working in the office out there, that we've got a good paper trail to support. until we get this problem solved with Trio, or Trio gets it solved
Right.
with us.
Until this can be fixed, the reports that I typically do for you guys or the department heads can't be run. So,
So there's no expense reports, like normally we would know
mhm.
8-9 weeks into the fiscal year what we've spent. And that's kind of stuck about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we haven't been able to get an update yet. So fortunately, it's happening this time of year, and not during the budget season when we really would need those figures.
But that's not our critical area.
No, the critical area is making sure that our vendors get paid.
That's right.
So the people who do work for the town get paid. So the paper trail that Kathy is recommending is kind of a belts and suspenders type, because in the warrant that many of you came in and signed last week, she had you sign a sheet like this.
Yep.
And because we couldn't print a regular warrant like you normally sign. So that was last week's. This week, tonight, what we'd like is a motion to approve, let's see how I wrote it here. To basically a motion that is recorded here to approve warrant numbers 9 and 10. And then you'll have this signature page, but for warrants number 9 and 10, Tammy was able to finagle the computer to print out a warrant sheet like you normally would sign. So that's why I call it belts and suspenders. We're gonna put both of these together because until this fix is done with Trio, we're not able to complete the warrant process in the system. There are several other items that need to be printed for Kathy, and we can't do that yet. Tammy went as far as she dared to go today without hitting a real roadblock.
Oh, yes.
So I say that, and just a couple other comments. One, just keep in mind if you hear on the street, hey, I went in to pay my taxes and they turned me away or whatever, we might have to shut down for periods of time while we're doing this, so people might get frustrated because they can't come do their business at the time they want to. The other thing to keep in mind is we have 2 warrants here tonight that will need a separate approval. The one is our regular accounts payable warrant. The other one is the Go Lab warrant, which we're doing separately. So these are engineering invoices that the town is paying on behalf of the company that bought the mill as part of our loan to them. So it's significant. It's $175,000 worth of engineering work that they've done already. We're getting as much collateral, so to speak, as you can with engineering documents and so forth. So what we really need to start the process is a motion to approve AP warrant number 9. And I'll give you the number, $197,135.68.
Say that again.
197,135.68.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve warrants dated number 9/9/2019. And this was number 8.
This was warrant number 9.
Warrant number 9, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and a total of $197,135.68. We have a motion.
That's my
You
motion.
get the second?
Just move
Yes.
second.
Second, okay.
Just have one
Mr.
question.
Dushan?
Those are all just regular, commonly occurring expenses or anything weird?
They're on
So
that.
you have a regular warrant, that I just didn't leave it for you to sign
Okay.
until we did this process, but
Okay.
everything you normally see is here.
Okay.
So again, double doing it here, but you'll have a signature page here and your normal signature page here.
I think when Kathy left Friday, we didn't know if we'd be able to produce something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So that's basically what.
Okay, okay, that's, as long as we have clarity on that,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Any questions, Mr. Elias?
Yeah, just, we are gonna get back to those days, right?
That's our hope by the
To
next.
get back to the way it used to
Next
be.
board meeting, right.
If
Oh,
not, we
next
go
board
to
meeting?
handwritten checks. How's that? We just keep going backwards.
Bags of money.
Envelopes and dollar bills?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. All right, so,
So with that, and again, I don't want to throw too many signatures at you. You can be signing that warrant too, because that's what you really just approved. The second approval, and I'll get that signature on the library one later. I don't need a motion on that. So, The second motion will be for the GoLab engineering warrant, so that will be warrant number 10. And the amount on that one is $175,196. I think there's some change in that 51. So I'll give that one to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. What's the change?
51 cents. So you're looking for a motion on that. Mr. Viziano will read it.
Okay, so looking for a motion for warrant number 10, $175,196.51 for GoLab Engineering Services.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve warrant. Thank you, Mr. West. Approve warrant number 10 for $175,196.51, and that's for GoLab Engineering Services. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.
So like that large warrant, you have a signature page for these engineering invoices. Mr. Agopian thought he was going to get in and out of here pretty quick, but.
We'll wake you, Bob, when it's your turn.
Raiders playing tonight?
10:20.
Oh, you're getting plenty of time.
That's why I want to take a nap.
So now, let me just note here, we've got 6, we've got 2 34s by mistake, so that should be 35.
So we need to do these also 3 and 6.
That is correct.
Okay, so let's continue on with AP warrants, number 3, dated 7/22/19, number 6, dated 8/12/19, payroll register number 33, dated 8/15/19, number 34, 8/22/19, number 35, 8/29/19, and number 36, 9/5/19.
My paper printed out 234.
Yeah,
I just corrected.
Yeah.
Okay. Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the warrants and payroll registers as read. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. All right.
Mr. Chairman, we have
Yes.
a few more consent items,
All right.
actually several more consent items. The first, I think, was in your packet regarding the equipment bid. That the board gave a consensus approval on August 28 via email, but we do need a motion and discussion, if need be, to approve and award the equipment bids to Viking for a total of $137,674, and that's for plow, wing, and industrial snowblower.
I'm making a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to award the commercial snow blower and snow plow to Viking. Any questions?
I just have a question. Where's Viking out of?
Lewiston.
Lewiston?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, wasn't, I wasn't familiar with the other guy I was familiar with, but.
Seeing no other, Mr. Moody.
Oh, bear with me. Where the heck is that thing?
Should be
Come to
right,
the back area.
should be right
Come to the
behind,
back
the-
desk.
right behind the first page there.
Why you wanna go with Viking, Jeff?
They were considerably cheaper on the plowing equipment. And the snow blower was close with our light equipment, but we saw and watched their brand of snow blower run, and we were pretty impressed with it. And speaking with some other road departments, they had very good luck with their brand.
Have you had any experience with them prior
Yeah,
to?
yeah.
Yep.
All right, seeing no other questions, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.
Another consent item is CMP needs your permission to place a utility pole on the Solon Meeting House Road. I believe the road commissioner has been out there and checked it out.
Yeah, all it is, it's a service to cross, to put a pole, put a transformer on, to cross the road to go to a house that someone is building on the Meeting House Road.
So we'll need a motion and approval and signatures to approve that location permit.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve for Central Maine Power a permit location. 43 to Solon Meeting House Road. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.
One more consent,
One more, awesome.
probably two more consent. And just for the record, I didn't bring these, they were brought to me.
Okay.
So. A couple of meetings ago, the board approved a policy for notary services. We had no official policy about services that notaries provide, so we came up with one. Kathy was talking this last week with the Secretary of State's office, and they said, you really need a little bit more exhaustive policy if you're going to have a policy on notary services. So this is the one that, with their help, we crafted. Basically, it outlines the facts that notary services are a courtesy at the town office. It's not something that we do. We're not lawyers. We don't provide a professional service. So if it's complicated, such as a mortgage, real estate, deed and property closing, a will or probate or something like that, or a marriage ceremony, which is what the board discussed previously, we're including that in our policy as excluded services. The town office is not going to be held to do these types of services as a notary. We'll do all of our other notary work, which most of it is to help our residents and customers with processes such as BMV, death certificates, that sort of thing. So I would need to know if the board would be willing, if I have copies if you want to look at it, but if the board would be willing to replace the policy they just approved a few meetings ago with this policy.
You need consensus or motion?
I would like a motion so we can put it right in the personnel policy.
I'd make a motion, we approve the amendment to the previously passed notary policy, providing the appropriate exclusions and so forth.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the updated policy regarding notary services at the town office. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Mr. Moody? All in favor?
One more consent item.
All right.
So at a previous meeting, this was discussed, no action was taken. We have a family that had purchased a cemetery lot right after the town made the change in how many cremations you could put in that lot. So they have asked Tammy if the board would be willing to grandfather their lots so they can put one full casket and 6 cremation plots. And they have signed a document that says they'll follow the rules as outlined as far as markers and headstones and that sort of thing. So if you're willing to grandfather lots 1034 and 1035 for the Snells, we would need a motion and signatures in that regard.
So we,
This is just 2 lots, Tim?
2 lots, yeah.
2 lots, that's
2
it.
lots,
2 plot lot.
every lot has 4 graves.
we lot 1034 and lot 1035.
Right.
Is this in the new section?
4.
No, it's not in the new Mitchell Highway, no, it's not up in there, it's down by 43.
Okay.
And then also, it is only cremations, so I made them, in that document, say that they're only having 1 upright, and that will be in alignment with the rest of them. And if they have any cremations, it can only be flat markers, so we can mow over that section. And they bought it so they could have it for all their kids to have. So behind it is just a, kind of a reserving for who they're gonna give it to, and then it will be passed down in their will.
All right, looking for a motion?
No benches, right, Al? I'll make a motion that we allow that to happen.
I'll second that motion, and I have a question.
All right, we have a motion and a second to allow the grandfathering of lots 1034 and 1035. Any questions?
I think you answered my question, but these were lots that were purchased prior to us making new rules.
Yes, so
Do we have a bunch more that may be seen?
when we adopted that, I thought it was courtesy to send out a letter to everyone, and it was under 10 stones that or lots that I sent those letters out to.
Okay, so this is not a big thing that we're gonna have
No.
to probably see a bunch more of these.
No, and if we do, it's that guideline that it's only flat stones only, so it's nice and clean over
Kind
there.
of use
Yeah.
the objective of what we were trying to
Exactly,
do. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, all those in favor? All in favor? Motion carries.
That's all for consent agenda.
All
See
right.
Mr. Elias.
I did, so
Okay,
yes. Mr. Elias voted yes.
okay. Just wanted to make sure, because he's not on camera.
He's on his fourth creamer, so.
Sure you got coffee in there. All right, letter D, acceptance of the meeting minutes from August 12th, 2019.
Move to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
To approve the meeting minutes of August 12th, 2019.
We have an echo.
Okay, no questions, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. Old business, Mr. Rudy?
None for me, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Elias?
None for me.
Savage, Mr.
None for me.
Sean, no. Items of communication, Mr. Town Manager.
Just a couple of things. It's been a while, but I thought we would publicly thank not only the Madison Anson Days Committee, but also Jim Peters and Fine Line Paving, because they provide free of charge the sweeper that we use to clean the streets right before the parade, and so we're very thankful for them. I did craft a letter, if the board wanted to sign it, thanking the Madison Anson Days Committee for all their hard work on another successful festival. I just wanted to update the board on a couple things from the last meeting. At the last meeting, the board approved a plan by which we would help Abenaki Campground catch up on past due personal property taxes. I did go out and speak face-to-face with Al Levante. He agreed in principle to the plan, said he would be in to pay his taxes. Haven't seen him yet, but I just want to let you know that in principle, we have an agreement to get his back taxes caught up. Last meeting, the board asked about that exposed base in the playground for the teeter-totter. Rather than spend a lot of money at this point on another piece of equipment, the highway crew moved the picnic table on top of it and chained the picnic table to it so it's secure and safe, and we've procured another picnic table for that area, which seemed to get a lot of use, especially over the Madison Anson Days Festival.
Good
Oh,
solution.
I would like to ask the board if they would be willing to nominate me as a voting delegate for the Maine Municipal Association's annual meeting in October. So I need a motion and a second and signatures for that.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Second to elect voting credentials, delegate credentials to Tim Curtis for the town of Madison. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. That's it? That's it? All right. New business, number one, department head reports. We have the sheriff's department here, we have the fire chief reports,
A small code enforcement.
small code enforcement. Any questions on those for the town manager? All right, we'll move on to our road commissioner.
Should I send a letter next time?
You can.
We've been doing some ditching out on the Copper Road. Should finish up, have a few other small projects to do in East Madison the rest of the week. Got 250 feet of sidewalk built and all paved down on Kennebec Street to finish that loop off in Pine Street down to Old Point. Some progress has been made out on the River Road. Lloyd's have worked out there for 3 days with an excavator and a truck. and either meet with CMP first of next month to talk about setting those poles over. So hopefully we'll have at least the sub base of that gravel, and probably won't end up being paved this fall, only because it's getting too late in the season. A new truck has been delivered. It's up in the garage if anybody didn't happen to see it in the parade. It's all nice and shiny, not snow covered yet. All the paving has been done, all the capital improvement pavings. Colby Bryant Road was done Thursday. The River Road is all done, Preble Avenue is all done, and those two roads have been striped today. So those sections of fresh pavement have been striped. There has been some concern about and some questions about the chip seal. I don't know if you guys have had any complaints or inquiries. I haven't heard any complaints other than some people were kind of asking some questions about it and what it was about, and I just kindly answered it and basically talked about what the pamphlet that was given out to everybody, and people that lived on the road also received those in the mail weeks prior to the project.
So is that chip seal stuff we're gonna continue to use? I mean, I really like Schuster Road, and I like Colby Bryant Road, and those are smooth and they look pretty good. I don't personally understand the chip seal. I mean, we in my opinion, we turned it to a dirt road.
Well, you know, there again, like we discussed before, it's a preventive measure. You know, we'll get another 7 to 9 years out of that road. It will be smooth. I don't know if you've been over on the Meeting House Road or the South Solon Road, because that's been over a year, and that road does not look any different than any other road in town. And now it's been plowed for one winter, and the traffic's been over it. But I guess that's something that we can discuss, you know, when it comes budget time, if we want to continue with this process. And, you know, it's entirely up to the board and the townspeople.
What's the difference in price, whether you do it with this process or whether you do an overlay?
This price, it's $2.35 a square foot. So you're talking roughly to do 1.5 inches of overlay for a mile of road, you're talking about $70,000. That project out there was a little over, right around 2 miles, and it was $60,000. But you know, the chip seal is not answer to paving. All that is it's a preventive overcoat to seal your road up. Now, if you remember last year, we did that cold mix from the rec field just past where Norval Watt lived, just before the Colby Bryant Road. That needed to be sealed up. So it was suggested that we just do that whole road to the Schuster Road and make it all one surface. And that's there's a good chance to see how this stuff is going to hold up through the course of the winter. And it's, as far as what I saw in Solon, it looks very good.
Still less.
So what is that stuff?
It's a liquid asphalt that's sprayed on the road. I don't know if anybody rode by when they were doing it. And then it's half that pile of 1/2-inch stone that was up to the garage is hauled down there and put out with a paver-like, you know, machine. And then it's rolled in and flattened off and then swept off.
So does it actually fill in the cracks better than?
It does. And it bonds your road together. It holds it up, and supposedly it's supposed to shed the water off it better and clear off a little bit easier in the winter time when the ice.
Time will tell, huh?
Time will tell.
How long have they been using this process, Jeff?
They've been using this process out west for a long time. They started using it down south, you know, in the southern part of the United States quite a few years ago, and now it's starting to come farther north. A lot of towns in Maine are trying it. Before they came here, they did quite a few miles up to Sebec and Milo. The town of Wiscasset uses it on all their roads, Turner, Yarmouth, and 2 years ago, before we started this project, Glenn and I went and looked at a few of these projects that had been laid, you know, for a few years. We looked at a project that had been done 2 years prior, and then we went and looked at a fresh job, and it was holding up very well. And just keep in mind, it also depends on the base of your road. You know, if you have a road that's always moving all the time. You're still gonna get some cracking, but it won't be anywhere near what it was. And if you guys went over, if any of you guys took the time to go over to the Meeting House Road that we did, and if you remember how rough that road was and how cracked up and falling apart that road was, now that's been down for a year and there's very few cracks in that road. And that road there, we just did an overlay, a 3/4 inch overlay, and then put that chip seal on it.
So by doing this, for example, the Solomon Meeting House Road, by doing this process here, you've kind of saved that base instead of having to grind it up and
Right, you're basically coating that whole road with the asphalt and the stone.
And that strengthens
That's
what's underneath of it.
not so much underneath the whole base of it, but the asphalt that's already there.
That's there, that's what I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
yes. Okay. Yep.
Still a rough ride, and it still appears to me that it breaks up. So I mean, I'm not convinced that it's something we need to keep using, but we'll see what happens this spring. Anything else?
So is it the board's kind of feeling that when we get to budget season, there'll be a number of different quotes? Let's say, I don't want to promise anything, but let's say we look at Ames Hill Road, out off of Thurston Hill. And you would come in with would you want Jeff to come in with a quote for a shim and overlay, and a quote for a shim and chip seal?
Maybe before then, we ought to take a little ride on the road we've done.
Right.
To make a
That
decision.
might not.
Give it 8, 9 months,
Right.
See what it looks like.
go through the winter.
Yeah.
And if you haven't plowed it off,
Well, one example is Thursday when they did the Colby Bryant Road, they paved that, and that had only been there a little over a week, that chip seal. And those trucks turned, those triaxle trucks turned on that all day long, and it did not come off.
Yeah.
And it was 70 degrees. The sun hit it for a good portion of the day, because I kept an eye on it most of the day, and it didn't move.
Mr. Elias would challenge the fact that it was 70 degrees. He believes that summer's over.
Oh, it is, no question. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, number 2, discuss revolving loan application for the economy trophy, Mr. Goldstein.
Hey, wake up, Bob.
So in your packets, you have some information. And I told Mr. Gopi when he applied that I would try to get the information out early, and the board could email me any questions. I did see an email this weekend asking about some of the rules and regulations of the revolving loan process. But before I get to that, I'd give it to Mr. Gopi to kind of explain what it is you're hoping to accomplish with the loan.
Basically, I'm just gonna use the loan to take and pay off some of the bills I already accumulated, the ones with a high interest rate on it. And then I do have a project where I got approved from the board. And I don't want to take any of this money, but I may have to, because I've learned many times, if you get an estimate for $11,000 and you have an old building, you can almost add another third to it. So it may be as much as $15,000. I know that doesn't affect you people, but I may have to use some of that money to finish off the project I put in for.
Right.
And then if I have anything left over from that, then I'm going to pay down some of the other bills.
When Mr. Hagopi and I had talked, we talked about collateral, and there's really not a whole lot to collateralize in the business right now, so I think we agreed to take this loan application to the board as an unsecured loan. So with that in mind, I made some copies here from, I'm going to say 2012, 2013. So these are the original Economic Development Loan Program guidelines that were, I think originally written by Joy Heiken. Now this document you have is an edited document because there's work being done on it. But I just wanted to have you turn to page 2, and down at the bottom, you'll see that there's the eligibility criteria, eligible uses, and ineligible uses. So in these old documents, debt refinancing was listed as an ineligible use. So, however, this document was updated in 2013, and I went and I pulled the minutes from 2013. Dana was the town manager at that time. I was doing some economic development work. And so at that time, the board consolidated a lot of these rules, and previous to that, there was a separate revolving loan committee that involved the town manager and other people in the community and one selectman. In 2013, the selectmen changed that so that the Board of Selectmen was just the revolving loan committee. So that being the case, that's where we came up with the $15,000 limit, 5-year limit, and that the rate would be set by the selectmen every July. That was all done by the select board in May, April and May of 2013, and that's what we have used as a guideline since. So this is the most recent version of it. And there's really, other than the fact that the selectmen are the committee, there's no stipulations, there's nothing in this document that says you can't use it for debt consolidation or debt refinancing. So I throw you that ball of wax. And so that one-page summary is what is sent out when people ask for a loan application.
This?
That one-page summary, not that long 5-page that you have.
Mr. Elias. Bob, did I understand you to say that you got a project for this 15,000, which may be 11, and the rest you were gonna use to pay down debt?
No. I got, the project you guys handed out a month ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that, so that's no problem. But the problem comes from, I budgeted $11,000 for that project. However, a lot of times in these old buildings, the project runs another third more. So I may have to use some of this money for that, to finish up that project. But when you get old stuff, I learned to add 1/3.
All right, any other quotes? Do, Sean.
This revolving loan fund was originally established as part of the grant from USDA. So my concern is that I suspect that some of these eligibility criteria were driven by the USDA.
Yeah, I couldn't find that connection today, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, and knowing how these things work, it doesn't, if the rules are established by the grant application from the USDA, there's no authority by this board to change those rules unless we're willing to pay back all of that money to USDA that originally started that grant. So I think that, I don't think that, I know that. I'm not really, I don't want to support an application that might put us in a position to have to pay back, what was that grant, $75,000, $80,000?
It was 50
$50.
originally, and there's a formula to determine what we'd have to pay
Right,
back. Yeah.
right. So I think that before we act on anything to do that, we need to make sure that we're not violating those USDA guidelines, particularly since in looking at this document, even though it's a markup document, it's the way this is structured, it suggests to me that was part of the original plan that was put forth by the economic development director at the time, as opposed to, because it's not, it doesn't appear that there's an edit in that particular line.
Right.
I suspect that that's part of the USDA rules that came out with that grant, so I think we need to look for those.
So, the question, does that document that just went down the table, does that go over the top of this? And be the, I mean, this was created by us in 2018.
Well, that's the most recent one, all that was from 2013.
Okay, so this go on the top of this?
Well, like I
What's the
said,
charge?
That's what I think.
like I said, when someone asks for a loan, this one sheet is what I give them as this kind of the summary of the rules of the program, of the guidelines of the program.
But is this the guideline of the program?
That I don't know, because I never used that document, because the only record we have of that document is in this edited form. So I don't know the origin of that. What I could do, what I haven't done, and I apologize, I could speak directly with USDA, because they will tell you the rules of the program. We talked to them last year to ask the question, if we were to, dissolve the whole revolving loan program, what would happen? And that's when they explained to us they would have to perform this formula and determine how much we would have to write them a check back to.
I think if you go back to them and say, we need to know what the rules were from day one, because the people that were administering at that time aren't here.
Right.
We should be able to get that, they must have that.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Elias?
If we give this loan out, do they look at that?
USDA? I know, I'll speak from my experience on the KV-COG board, because the KV-COG receives quite a bit of funding from USDA to give out loans. What really triggers it, USDA to get involved, is if you're giving out loans that are defaulting, or loans that haven't been paid back or are slow to be paid back. Because just like the town of Madison, KV-COG still has to pay back USDA if they get out of the loan business. Some entities in the federal government give you grant money, and you can do whatever you want with it with your revolving loan. USDA has some strings attached to it.
This goes way back to Pearly Bean.
Pearly Bean's revolving loan program ended, and Joy Heichel started this one in
Now,
2009.
this is the next generation?
This is 2009 that Joy started with USDA.
Because Pearlie's was the Madison paper too, I think.
No, we got some money too.
And Pearlie got a lot of grants.
Yeah, he did, and
Yeah.
what his goal was in this revolving loan thing was to get enough money so that it was self-sustained.
Right.
Right.
And they said we couldn't do that. Federal government said we could not do that.
Self-sustained. Yeah. See, that's what gives me pause on this, because I was pretty clear that debt refinancing wasn't permitted. So,
I guess it's a no-brainer. I mean, somebody's gonna make contact with USDA and find out what the parameters are here. Either yes, we can, or no, we can't, one way or the other.
Well, how about if I do it this way? How about if I just take this and pay off the project? Then there's no debt pay down.
You pay off the project that you're gonna do. You're gonna use this loan to fund the project that you combine with the matching
Now
grant.
there's no pay down.
Make it easier.
That would make it a lot easier.
Yeah, because in here that you can do that,
Yeah.
according to this.
Okay.
Right.
So you're gonna borrow 15,000, and you've got a grant for 5,000. So do you have a $20,000 project?
I don't know.
Okay. And then I would say you probably need to restructure it so that if you're gonna ask for a
I
project.
can make it 20, I can easily make it a 20,000.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But I can buy more brick, finish the windows, yeah.
Well, and I think that's probably what the board would need to see is, okay, what is the
I will
project?
spend it in that.
What's that?
I will spend it all in that project.
Sorry.
I thought with the $5,000 that we give Bob, he had to spend 5, 10.
Right, 10.
You're gonna spend 10 and get 5,
Right.
right? So that really does that have anything to do with this?
No, because you can spend your own money, you can borrow it from another bank, you can borrow it from the town. There's no rules that say you can't combine. I should say that I'm aware of, there's no rules that say you can't combine the loan and the grant program.
As long as he spends 10 to get the 5.
Right.
He's gotta, that's why I understood it. You gotta spend up to
That's correct.
$10,000.
Right.
Even if you spend 20,000, you're only gonna get 5, right?
That's correct.
If you spend 7,000, you're gonna get half of that.
Right.
35,
That's correct. It's a 2-to-1 match.
right, okay. So, I guess what are we asking Mr. Hagopian to do?
In my opinion, but you're the board that makes the decision, if he's going to change the purpose of the loan from a debt consolidation loan to a project, I think we probably would need, and it's, if he's gonna ask for the full 15,000, then we would need to see some estimates and quotes for $15,000 or $20,000 worth of work, or what needs to be done, or what you plan to do with that money.
Well, you're actually, I have it in here for, I think, 11 something.
Right.
Okay, so then if I go with 11, whatever I have in there for the loan, instead of 15, if I go for 11 something.
But of that 11, you've already got a $5,000 grant, so you only need to borrow 6,000. So your project that you submitted for the grant was an
Okay.
$11,000 project. The board said, okay, you spend that 11,000, or you spend that 11,000, we'll give you 5,000 back. But the next item on the agenda is we're doing just that for the chiropractor. He's got an invoice that shows he spent $14,000, so now the board's gonna authorize giving him his 5,000 back.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure if it's written in the grant program guidelines or not, but I'm real hesitant to provide a revolving loan to provide the matching funds for a previous grant.
I was just doing that just to make it easier, that was all. I mean,
It doesn't make any difference about, well, I don't care whose name is on this or what we're doing. I just, philosophically, I think that just goes against the spirit of what we're doing. The matching grant program is Joe businessman has a project, he's gonna spend $10,000. He comes to the town and says, I'm gonna spend $10,000. Okay, well, we'll support you from an economic development perspective, because if you're gonna spend $10,000 and we throw $5,000 back to you after you spend that $10,000, well, then maybe there's another $5,000 you could put into your business or whatever, because you were originally gonna spend that anyway. So, combining the two so that you're providing the capital, the business capital match required for the grant just doesn't look right to me. From a, just, when we go out and we talk to the taxpayers and we say, okay, well, we're gonna give a grant to XYZ business, and again, it doesn't make any difference what business it is. If we're gonna give a grant to XYZ business, and oh, by the way, we're gonna fund a revolving loan fund to meet the match required over here, it just doesn't feel right to me. I would say, to close the loop for you, is you've gotten the approval for the $5,000 grant. Well, if you want to change what you're doing, then bring us a different application. But the application before us says you're asking for a loan of $15,000, which, number one, I don't know that we can do because of the requirements in this that says you can't refinance debt. And two,
I just think that if we try to make a change here on the fly, I think at some point in time, something's gonna fall through the cracks, and I don't wanna be the guy that somebody's gonna come to and say, how come you did this? You know, it just doesn't feel right. So I'd rather see a clean application for what we really wanna do with Mr. Gopian than,
You have
and
it.
know about the USDA.
But I do think that an $11,000 loan is appropriate. What he does with it, that is not, I mean, I don't see how we can be concerned with his matching grant. If he takes that 11 and pays that, and then asks us to pay 5 back to him, I don't see what's wrong with that. But I do think you need to clean this up a little bit and come back with changing it from the debt refinancing to a project. And I think that to me would be cleaner than this. But as far as if he asked for Mr. Gopian asked for 11,000, as long as he has a plan, I don't see how you can say no. Mr. Elias.
Tim, could you just call them and ask and see if that's even still in there?
Right, I will. I'll do that
I
tomorrow.
mean, that'll cure all the problems, if it is or it isn't. Correct?
Yep, I'll give you direction.
If these actually apply, on section 3 on the first page, it says, I wish I could see the numbers.
Oh, I know, they're very confusing in
It
this.
says loan amount may not exceed 50% of the total investment, so if these rules go, it seems like this would make it even more difficult for Mr. Hagopian to get this.
Right. That's why I think.
So, I mean, if these apply,
I think a lot of these rules were tried to be simplified by the board back in 2013.
if we could throw them away, it'd be perfect.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's the question you gotta ask USDA is, do these restrictions still apply?
You're right.
All right. Does that make sense, Mr. Gopian?
Okay, I have to come back in 2 weeks, you're saying?
That's what we're gonna try to do, yes.
Well, I'll let you know what USDA says. If USDA
Okay.
says, no, you can do debt consolidation, then this board will have an easier decision to make in 2 weeks. If they say you
How
can't
about
do debt
How about
consolidation.
if they say it, if they say I can use it for debt consolidation, then can I have it? If they don't, then I won't get it.
That's up to the board.
I'm not gonna support that tonight.
I think everything, all the answers are gonna hinge on what information you find out.
Okay.
I think all the information's gonna hinge there. We're gonna know what direction we can go in, you're gonna know whether yes or no, in both sides will be knowing yes or no. It'll just simplify things,
All right.
and it's only a 2-week gap.
All right, we all set? Moving on. Number 3, discuss
Thank you.
payment of matching.
Cheer for the Raiders.
Discuss payment of matching grant funds, Spinology.
So, back in July, the board approved several matching grants. Dr. Niffen over on Lakewood Road, Spinology Chiropractic was one of them. I think in your package, you've got the invoice that he spent $14,553 on infrared camera equipment. So he has met the criteria for the board to issue that $5,000 grant.
I make a motion, we issue the money.
Second.
Now, we have a motion and a second to issue the matching matching grant to Spinology, Dustin Niffen, for $5,000. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor? Number 4, discuss tax acquired property at 19 Middle Street.
So I sent out an email to the board. There's been some developments here. The owner, or the previous owner of this property, passed away on August 24th. I spoke with his daughter. I've spoken with her twice, and I've kind of explained the situation to her. Unfortunately, when this gentleman passed away, his children were not aware of his tax situation. They live in Maine, but in southern Maine. So they seem to have some means about them. They have let me know that their hope is to go through probate, because that's where everything is heading right now. They don't anticipate that to be a very long process. After that is done, they plan to put the house on the market and sell it, and pay all the back taxes. One thing I did explain to them in the process is that because it is technically owned by the residents of the town of Madison right now, they would have to pay off the 2016 taxes to get a quitclaim deed from this board so they could actually sell the property. So I hope that doesn't complicate their process, but that's just the way it is. So my question to the board is, do you have any questions or concerns about their plans to sell the property?
I mean, I think they gotta get those taxes paid off, right? I mean, that, you can't.
As long as they're making an effort, I mean, to clarify and justify what they're going to do here. Yeah, not a problem. I mean, at least we're gonna get something. There's a hope that we're gonna get something.
Right.
And instead of, them not doing anything with it, we get stuck with it.
Exactly.
No.
I agree.
So the daughter is, she's very good. She's called several times to let us know what's going on. She works for an appraisal company in southern Maine, so this is not out of her, bailiwick, so she understands the process. So she just wanted to know if the board was okay with this plan, and I'll let her know.
All right, number 5, discuss electrical upgrades to Main Street Park and basketball courts.
I just wanted the board to know, maybe you weren't aware, the lights at the basketball court have been off for most of the summer. And that was because the road crew discovered that there were several exposed wires. The wiring that runs around the basketball court to power the lights, the conduit was old and cracked, and the wires were starting to fray. So we had an electrician come in, he took a look at it, and he said, you need to shut it down, you need to pull all that wiring out. So we did shut the electricity off to the wires, or to the lights, so the wires don't pose a hazard, but I just want to make the board aware of that. It all depends on who's playing basketball. Sometimes seasons will go by and they'll want the lights on every night. I haven't heard a peep. So everybody likes to play basketball, plays in the daytime right now. During Madison Anson days, up at the Main Street Park, when that was built, there are outlets put along the fence, and there are outlets put on several of the light poles. When you have 17 contestants for a dynamite cook-off, and each of them has 2 crock pots put in, it drained that system there. And then the next day, a couple days later, when they had carnivals and vendors there, some of them had generators, but others were using all the electricity. So we were blowing breakers on a regular basis. Scott Lloyd from MEW kind of gave us the lay of the land, and he said that was never built for that much usage. So I told some of the folks at Madison Anson Days Committee, you either have to limit the number of people that are going to use electricity there, or the town has to invest in some upgrades to increase the availability of power there. These two things, the basketball court and the power up to the Main Street Park, I wanted to bring before you before I went too far down these roads.
Mr. Moody.
My first question is, that basketball court is not that old.
20 years?
It's 20 years.
Yeah.
But shouldn't the wiring last more than 20 years if it's done and secured right?
Where did you find the broken? I saw a couple pieces.
It was on the bottom of the poles. The covers had been broken off, and there was just, and I think there was a wire too sticking out of the ground in places too, wasn't there?
Who did it?
I wasn't
What?
here.
Who did the wiring?
Oh, I had no idea. That was back, well, I think it was 2003, wasn't it?
Tommy Dillon did a lot of that.
Well, it was his pocket that financed that.
I couldn't tell you.
But I don't know
Do you want me to raise my hand in that question?
who did the wiring.
Yeah.
Then-
I don't know, was it the electric company?
I don't know if Madison Electric did the wiring.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, you're either gonna fix it or wait, but my second question is, as far as the other part goes, if we're going to continue with the activities every year, and it seems like it's growing every year, and there could be more, I don't think we have any choice other than wire it right.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Get it done right, and then we won't have any of these problems here. Because it doesn't seem like we're having any less activity up there, we're having more activity up there. And if that's the case, then we need to provide it for the people up there that's having the activities. That's my feelings on it.
Sean?
I agree with you. I think that if these things need to be upgraded, I think they should be upgraded. I also would suggest that we reach out to Madison Electric, because as a subsidiary of the town, I would think that they have some expertise that they could bring to the table for relatively little bit of money to make this area usable. I think that historically Madison Electric has stepped up to the table whenever we needed something, and I think that the current administration up there will be no different, even though it's a new guy up there. I think if we go to them and say, look, we've got these issues. I remember when we did the ice rink, we called up there and said, we don't know how to do this. We want to make lights up there. And they said, okay, well, this is what we'll do. You pay for the current or whatever it is, and we'll put it up. And they did. So I think that that's where we're at with the Main Street Playground. I think that's where we're at with the basketball courts. If we get Tim to talk to Jeff up there and say, this is what we need, how do we make it happen?
Get that silver tongue wagon.
Well, so we've already had some of these conversations, and Scott Lloyd expressed to me some frustration with this process, especially up at the Main Street, because when those breakers started going during the dynamite cook-off, they called MEW, and Scott's like, I can't fix that problem right now. And he expressed to me on the phone that, and this is something I've learned over the years talking with Calvin and folks, they'll do infrastructure. They won't do the work of an electrician. They won't take any business away from an electrician. So when we add more outlets up there and add to the power box and do all that, MEW's not going to do that for us. We're going to have to go hire an electrician to do that. Scott made that very clear. And so I understand, I agree with it. Now, when you're talking about infrastructure, they could probably order some lights for the basketball hoop down here, much like they did with the ice rink. However, in the long run, those ice rink lights never worked right. I was on the phone with Calvin every winter because Joe Hayden would call me and say that, hey, lights aren't working, hey, the lights aren't working. So you kind of get what you pay for if you anticipate MEW to do the whole kit and caboodle for you. But if they can provide the equipment, the town's going to have to pony up an electrician to get everything done right.
So is that something we can put into, I mean, do we have the money to do that now, or is it something to get a quote for and budget forward?
So the electrician that looked at the basketball hoop said that it would, or basketball lights, it said it would be $400 to $800 for him to rewire everything. And that doesn't include new lights. And he didn't think that you could, he didn't recommend that you rewired those old 20-year-old lights, because technology's changed and you can get more efficient lights now than you did 20 years ago. So we would have to look at what could MEW buy new lights for us for, and what could the electrician do the work for. So, I don't think we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. I think you're talking maybe a couple thousand on each project.
And I feel like, take the direction, Tim, and bring us back some figures.
Yep.
I mean, this is something that were put there for the town.
Right.
let's fix it right.
Agree.
You know, if it's gonna cost a few $1,000s, it's a no-brainer. You know, we kinda stumble around over a few $1,000s, but when it comes to $100,000, oh, no problem.
All in favor?
So, whatever they need to do, tell them we want it done right, done one time. We don't wanna come back in 5 years, 50, or 10 years and have it done again. Just, you know, do it the way it should be done the right way.
That's right. It's the new show.
The other thing that I would add to what Mr. Moody said, I agree with everything that he said, but I would add that I think that MEW needs to be at the table so that they know what the outcome needs to be and anything that they can contribute to the process in terms of infrastructure or anything like that. We need to rely on them because they're part of who we are.
Well, I think I would start with MEW
Yeah.
and see what they can provide, and then fill in the rest.
And they
Right.
probably can give you some good direction.
Yeah, because they can tell you how much power you gotta have at Main Street to do
Right.
all of those rides and build yourself some cushion so that if things grow and you need more power, then I think that's where you start, and I think that's, you know, but I agree with that. Get us more information
Yeah.
and bring us a plan to fix it.
We'll fix it.
Now, Hegan Savings says their power goes out every time, and that's why they can't win those cook-offs. So,
Isn't this a perfect use for TIF money?
well, there's lots of uses for TIF.
No, but I mean, that's a perfect use. That brings people into town,
That's true, that is
I
economic
think
development, that's a good point.
both
Yeah.
things.
We can make that point.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, number 6, discuss MPI appeal of decision by Board of Property Tax Review.
So you may think this is silly, but the board does have to talk about this in a public meeting. So Madison Paper did file to appeal the State Board of Property Tax Review's decision. The deadline was last Friday. They did their appeal maybe 4 or 5 days ahead of time. In the process of the two lawyers, our lawyer Dave Silk and their lawyer John Block, emailing back and forth, John Block threw out a figure that they would settle for $350,000. So I guess what I need is either consensus of the board or direction. Does the board want to settle for $350,000?
No.
No.
Okay, so it sounds silly, but we need to know that, and it needs to be discussed publicly.
So Les?
Now, can we go back a little bit and talk about the mill and talk about when the evaluation was done? Wasn't it done 100% on, you know, you have 3 criteria, right? But wasn't it all based on money coming in, the money they were making? Income?
What valuation are you talking about?
Their evaluation,
In 2014?
whatever it was, 2012,
So
what did they evaluate?
Mr. Van Tynen, when he was the assessor, he always did all 3 approaches. So we did an income approach, the money they had coming in, the cost approach, what it would take to rebuild the whole thing, and the market approach if you were to sell it today. So he always did all 3 of those figures, and then he, as the assessor, would determine which one weighs more. So when the big reduction took place in 2014, when that mill valuation went from 229 now to 80 million, Bill had all 3 of those figures, but he weighed the income approach. So because their income was down, because the paper business was in decline, that's what led to that big decrease.
Okay, now, it says right here, the highest and best use of the mill. You know, I'm getting sick and tired of, every time it doesn't go in their favor, they come up with some other kind of reason why they should get a
And
rebate.
that's why I gave you those sheets.
So,
right?
can I ask a question? April 1 is the day, that's a magic day,
That's
right?
right.
So my house burns down April 2nd. What am I gonna pay for taxes?
Whatever the house was worth on April 1st.
Case dismissed.
Right.
I don't understand what's going on.
Because they're lawyers and they're trying to find other
No, they're
ways-
trying to make more money.
other ways around it, so.
Yeah.
Right, so the state board did agree with you, because that was our case, that the mill was operating, making paper on April 1st, 2016. 2 of the 3 board members both mentioned that, and it's mentioned in their written decision. So it would be up to this court in Skowhegan to decide whether or not that was right or wrong. And that's really what they're appealing.
I mean, they do have a right to appeal, so I mean, it's not.
Oh, I understand that.
We have to do that. Lucia.
Structurally, when we went before the State Board of Tax Review, we went there because they disagreed with our number. They filed the case. We went and defended what we had established as their value in front of that board. The board was asked to vacate our value and to come up with a different number. And the board refused, based on the evidence provided to them, and they had, God knows they had plenty of evidence. So, as I understand this, George, the board, the State Board of Tax Review said, no, you didn't support your case, and Madison did what was right, so we're saying Madison doesn't pay you back any of your taxes that you already paid them. So the only thing that they can do in this appeal, and this is as I understand it from talking with you and Mr. Silk, is they can only appeal stating that the State Board of Tax Review erred in their assessment of the way the rules were applied. So from that perspective, you're absolutely right. April 1st is the drop dead day. And as long as, you know, as long as they apply the law as the law is written, and again, like Tim said, 2 out of the 3 property review board members said that, we're fine.
But on top of that, there was 3 board members and it was unanimous in our favor.
Correct.
Right.
I would think that this is kind of beating your head against the wall to see if there might be a crack there.
It's all part of the process, I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I would feel a little different if it was 2 to 1, 2 in our favor, 1 against. But when you got the whole bench on your side, you know, this is a money game going now.
So just a couple of things for the board to consider going forward. One is because they're now challenging this appeal in civil court, they are allowed to ask for legal expenses back. So what they're asking for in this appeal is all of the original abatement, which was $900,000, interest, which is another $100,000, and about $300,000 worth of legal costs. So what they're asking for is $1.3 million. So they're going to throw that number at you. Say, hey, if you lose, you got to pay us $1.3 million.
Well, we didn't lose the last time.
The other thing is, I believe there's a requirement that we have to go to some sort of non-binding mediation or arbitration. So there may be another meeting in the future where I come to you and say, I'm going to go sit in the lawyer's room. How much money do I have? And you can tell me $1, you can tell me 100,000, you can tell me nothing. So you have to give me the authorization if that comes to that, and it may come to that before this goes to court.
So can we ask for conversely, can we ask for our legal costs?
I'll talk with our attorney about that.
You know, if we're gonna win, then we'll win it all.
Right, yeah.
I would agree with that. As I've read this thing and I saw the thing about they want their costs, well, wait a minute. You know, the taxpayers of Madison have spent a whole lot of money fighting this spurious claim, in my view. And I just think that there's got to be a way that we can go back and say, look, enough's enough. If you lose now, you're going to pay us more money. And if we can do something like that, I think I'd be in favor of that.
Still ask.
So the money they're asking for is the money they've already spent and lost,
Right.
plus whatever they're gonna spend in Skowhegan.
And the taxes.
So Albert's
Plus
right,
the
why
tax.
can't we go after what we already
That's a
spent?
great question.
And I agree with Jack 1,000%. If they wanna play that kind of game, okay, if you lose, this is what it's gonna cost you. Right?
Right, why not?
Yeah, because if they're in civil court, we should be able to counter. That's my, but I don't know how the municipal piece works, and David Soul can help me about
Okay. So I just wanted to make the board aware that there'll be more discussions to come.
We're on our way.
I'm sure. Oh, and that includes our time too, we're gonna kick that. Our 5 cents an hour.
Mr. Moody, any questions for selectmen's concerns?
None, sir.
Mr. Elias?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Savage?
None.
You, Sean?
that. None for me.
All set, citizens' concerns? Action?
This is on behalf of the basketball courts. Recently this year, one of the wires got fully ripped in half. As I recall that I said we had before, worked almost every night exactly at a certain time. So as you said, the $800 or more, maybe $1,000 for it, definitely should probably be getting into it after the winter. Because right now, even though a lot of people are complaining, and they keep saying that the police shut down because the place isn't clean, a lot of people complain that they're off, but a lot of people like it. So next year, before summer, put it up so around this time we'll be able to work. Because I've got a lot of people complaining to me that the lights aren't working.
Sounds good.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daxton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, looking for motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries, adjourn 7:45.
Yeah.